Welcome to MIDWEEK Experiments in Faithfulness. This is a weekly facilitated spiritual practice with a Quaker flavor and an experimental ethos. My name is Jen Higgins-Newman, and I'm the program manager at Beacon Hill Friends House. We're a Quaker Center for Learning and Action and a residential community of about 20 people who live according to Quaker values. Tonight, we have Greg Woods with Seeing Ourselves as Whole and Perfect in an Ableist World. Drawing on both the Quaker concept of the inward light of Christ and Disability Liberation Theology, Greg will offer a time for worship sharing and small group reflection around what it means to fully see ourselves as enough and whole in a world that tells us otherwise. Disabled and able-bodied people will find ways to counter messages of perfection that plague our world. Now, I'm excited to introduce you to Greg. Greg Woods is the Youth Ministries and Education Coordinator for Friends Meeting at Cambridge. As a disabled Quaker, he found himself fully embraced by God when he discovered the field of Disability Liberation Theology while in seminary. Prior to working at FMC, he worked in campus ministry and service learning. Again, welcome. We're happy that you've joined us, and Greg, it's all yours.
Hi, everyone. It's good to see everyone. For those who do not know, I want to give a background into liberation theology in general. This theology first came out of Latin America in the 1960s, and it seeks to develop a theology that spoke to the contention and the liberation of oppressed people, talking about systematic oppression as sin, and how the church, namely the Catholic Church, in that context in Latin America, where the Catholic Church was seen as a colonizing power, naming it as one of the oppressors in the region. I will point out that many of these liberation theologians in Latin America are Catholic, and even Catholic preach themselves. The name of the movement comes from a book written by Christy R. Gutierrez, a theology of liberation. At the same time, like the late 60s, you have another liberation that is happening, called the Black liberation theology, that coming out as a response to the civil rights movement in the 60s and the Black Power movement. And it seeks to very much like the liberation movement in Latin America, it seeks to liberate non-white people from the systematic oppression they face in the U.S. and abroad. I would one of the only seminal texts about Black theology, a Black theology of liberation by both of the theologies that people of color and their voices within the gospel of Jesus Christ. Then, decades later in 1994, Nancy Eastland wrote A Disabled God, with expanded liberation theology to disabled people. Just a quick side note, I am using the phrase disabled people on purpose. I believe in identity first language rather than people first language, would be people with disability. I found Nancy Eastling's book, My Last Semester of Seminary. I was in a class about sexuality and the Christian body, and we were talking about our body and different sexualities and gender, and but there was nothing about disability, nothing that spoke to my condition. So I looked for stuff. I found her book, and within her book, Nancy talks about how she sees herself within the image of God as a disabled person, not a hindrance to God. She points out after the resurrection of Christ comes bearing wounds. This passage is usually known as Doubting Thomas, where it usually preach in the positive churches the week after Easter about how the Apostle Thomas didn't believe about the crucifixion of Jesus. So Christ appears to Thomas and the other disciple bearing the wounds of the resurrection. And usually that we talk about how you shouldn't doubt, but it also like Christ came back bearing the wounds. Christ came back. Another way to look, the wounds show us that in our body, that our bodies can be disabled and still be perfect and good. Our perfection isn't wrapped up in how our bodies are or how they look. Her book was a little lifesaver for me as a disabled Christian Quaker. Before, I often wonder, how do I reconcile my faith in God and my disability? My disability, my speech impediment, I felt like a burden than anything. Why, God? Why did this happen? And talking to others, both disabled and able-bodied people, about disability liberation theology, I found that this theology is life-giving for everyone. That isn't to mean that I definitely don't think everyone has a disability. No. But we all live in a society that calls us to be perfect. I blame the limits of the puritanical culture that the country was founded on, and we aren't perfect. We aren't whole. There was something wrong with us. But this Disability Liberation Theology called this BS and says that to be whole does not have anything to do with being perfect. For me, it means more to be faithful than perfect. Then I have two queries. What would it mean to feel whole? And you said the expectation do not be perfect. How would your life change if you start to live your life in that way?